For the Dobson region, and I've been doing this for I think 5 years now. And so I've learned to use Canvas to adapt to my math classroom because I wanted to test my students' knowledge a little bit higher than just multiple choice questions. So I'm going to show you some things that I have developed and then show you how to do that as well. So let me go ahead and share my screen. I think you should be seeing my Canvas screen right now. And I have some unit tests that I have given to my students. Don't let the math freak you out if you're not a math teacher. So it's okay. You might not understand what it is that I'm asking my students to do on this assessment, but I just wanted to give you a demonstration of what the different features could look like. So for this particular example, in question number 8, I'm asking my students to do 3 different problems, and they have to answer those 3 different questions, and they just type in the answer blank, whatever they think the answer might be in here, and then they what that problem is, and then they move on to the next question. So this is a multiple answer blank, which you can put the blanks anywhere within the text. So that's great if you're asking your students to do some fill in the blank or put in some vocabulary words in the meaning of the context of the problem. You also have an option where you can just have one blank at the very bottom of a question. Or again, you could have multiple blanks within the question. So I'm able to look at one question here, one stem of the question, and ask multiple different items. And then test a graph or a picture, or you can put in an image and have the students do a fill in the blank, and they have to get the exact answer correct. And we can talk about those options as well. And then another option here, we can have multiple downs. So I'm asking my students to tell me about this function, and they can pick from any one of those choices a multiple drop-down menu. So that's what I'll be covering today in the course. So I'm in my sandbox, and I've set up in a module, a demo module and a demo quiz. So I'm going to go ahead and go into my demo quiz. And when you edit in a quiz feature, you're going to go over to questions. You can, at the beginning of your page, set the different options that you would like, but what I'm really going to spend time on today is writing the questions. So I'm going to go over here to questions, and then I'm going to go to a new question. So under the questions, the first thing that's highlighted here is a question for you to label what that question might be. And this would be good if you're going to be doing lots of questions in Canvas, because you can go back and pick and choose questions that you have already created, maybe for a semester exam or a quarter test or something like that. So if you label the content of what your question is, that is a good thing to do, so you don't just have 1,000 questions called questions. So maybe this might be something like quadratic functions, or whatever topic it is, or whatever unit. You could even just put for you, if you want to do like unit 9, objective 3, however it makes sense to you later on down the road. And then to the right, you have a drop-down menu here. You can choose the different types of features. Excuse me. We're going to talk about fill in the blank first. So fill in the blank, it says just enter your text question, all possible correct answers. So if I wanted to do what is 5 minus 8 equals, and then that's all I need to do for my STEM, but now I have to figure out how is it that I want my students to answer. So I know that this answer would be -3. So I can just type in -3. But I also know that some of my students will do -3, or they might be crazy and do -3. However you want to do that, these are the 3 options that the computer will go ahead and accept as an answer. You might even type the answer in if possible. Okay, so -3, I hit update question and it's now saved. So if I want to do a new question, it still is asking me what it is I want. So unit 9, objective 3. This time, if I want to do multiple fill in the blanks. So this is where I like, it allows me to put in that answer blank exactly where I want it, because just the fill in the blank puts a blank at the bottom of the page, but the fill in multiple blanks allows you to put in your fill in the blank anywhere you want. So we're going to do, maybe you want to do like a Mad Lib with your students. So you could say roses are, and this is where maybe you want to fill in your first blank. So what you're going to do is hit bracket and then type in a word to help you remember what it is you want there. So roses are red. And then I'm going to end that with a bracket again. And the brackets are on the right-hand side of your keyboard. So roses are red. Violets are, and then I'm going to put that answer in brackets again. And violets are blue. Joining us today. Canvas is, and then just to pick a rhyming word, true. Anyway, so here are my options that I have set in to my answer. Anything that I want my students to fill in the blank, I'm going to put in those square brackets. So when you down how we have to put in there, what is it that we're asking our students to respond? So show possible answers for red, because that's my first fill in the blank. So you could type in the word red, and capitalization doesn't matter, but if they misspell the word red, it will mark them wrong. And I don't have any other possibilities, so I'm going to come over here for this next answer choice and trash it, so delete it, so they only have one option for this. Okay, then for my answer for blue, I could put in here blue, or violets are, maybe I'll accept the word purple. And then for true, maybe I'll accept true, maybe I'll accept awesome, and I want to add another choice, and I might accept excellent for testing. And then again, at the end of this question, we're going to update the questions. So I'm going to save this just for the moment.
Hey, Kelly, can I chime in real fast?
Yes, please do.
Because I made this mistake a lot the first time I did multiple fill in the blanks. Inside the brackets, don't do any spaces, because if you do, it won't accept it. So just a heads up on that.
Numbers are okay, but special characters are not okay. At least for the bracket part of it. You can put numbers and special characters and spaces and stuff like that in the answers that you're going to accept. But it's the coding component of it that I think I've tried some special characters. And it worked. Thank you for that reminder. Okay, so here is the preview of this quiz. So here are the first two questions. 5 minus 8, I'm going to put in -3. Rose red, violets are blue, and I'm going to be silly with my capitalization to show you. And thank you for joining us today. Canvas is a great tool. And then I'm going to submit. And it'll show me that I got the correct answer. And then it'll mark the one part that I did get wrong. So you can see that it did give me the correct answer for capitalizing blue in a funny way. So let me go back to editing the quiz here. I'm going to go back to question. So I've covered fill in the blank, the multiple fill in the blank, and let's talk about multiple dropdowns. So multiple dropdowns are going to be set the same exact way where you're going to be using brackets. And they do give you some directions right here. Type a reference word, no spaces, surrounded by brackets. All right, so multiple dropdown. The War of 1812 started in, and then you could put bracket year, and then you could select to choose some drop-down years for that. Let's see, the next election for president will be in, and then I can put year, because this is my second category with the year. Let's see, 3 cups is equal to, and I'm going to put maybe measurement here. And so all the different kinds of things that you can put in there. And then again, you'll have the drop-down menu to give your answers for those different drop-downs that you have. So for the first year, I'm going to put in 1817. It's going to be 1812. And I need some more choices, so I'm going to go and add another answer. Let's do 1810. And I'm going to add another answer again and do 1813. I'm going to make sure my correct answer actually is 1812. And then I'm going to go down to the drop-down menu one more time to year 2, my second drop-down blank, or my multiple drop-down menu. The next election for president will be in, so I want my correct answer to be 2020, and we can have 2021, 2022, and again, my correct answer is going to be 2020. And then my last drop-down measurement, this question was 3 cups is equivalent to, and you could say 1.5 pints, 3.5, or no clue, I'm bad at fractions. And then I have to select my correct answer. So I'm going to select correct answer here. And then that I've got my choices for my drop-down menus, I'm going to update the question. I have done many times is to forget to update question before I hit save. So please make sure that you do that. And then if I hit save again, just so I can preview what it is I'm showing you. Here's my general fill in the blank. Here's multiple fill in the blanks. And now here are the multiple drop downs. So I have, the students can select this. This is kind of like having multiple choice questions in one problem. The other thing I noticed, I didn't change the score. So because I have multiple blanks in this, I'm going to want to change the point value. So let me go ahead and submit this. It told me I have to do unanswered questions, and that's okay. What to do with quizzes is make sure that I do preview them after I create them, just so I can make sure I have everything what I need to have set up for it. So you see the second question, I really need to change this because I had 3 fill in the blanks. I'm going to change that to 3 points, and then I'm going to update the question. And then the last question I just created, I'm going to go ahead and edit. And again, I had 3. So maybe these questions I wanted to make worth a little bit more. So I maybe want them 2 points answer. So maybe I'm going to make this a total of 6 points. And then update your question. And then one other question type that I have found useful in math is also this multiple answers. The multiple answers is a multiple choice type of question when you have more than one answer that you can show. Which of the following are equal to 4? And then usually what I do with students, somewhere within that same text box, I will say select all that apply. Just to let them know that there is going to be the possibility of more than one answer. So let's see, I said we're doing the same things equivalent to 4. So 8 minus 4, I could say 2 plus 2. I could have 5 minus 1. I could do 4 minus 8. And of these choices, the 2 plus 2 will also make 4, and the 5 minus 1 will also make 4. But the 4 minus 8 will not give me 4, it'll give me negative 4. So I can select update question. And then if I save this and go back to preview, you'll notice that the answer choices, instead of being squares, and that allows me to go ahead and pick more than one option. So you could change the point value if you want here as well, but it does allow students to have more than one option. And in my test, here's an example of a multiple drop-down again, looking for, in this one, multiple answers. Sorry, I'm scrolling so fast. Yep. So here's an answer for question number 5. Name all the subsets of the complex numbers. Select all that apply. And so the square root of 400 is a real number. It's a natural number. It's an integer, whole, complex, and rational. So that's what I would expect my students to select for that one. And again, here's an example of how I've used the multiple drop-down feature. For this absolute value function, identify that it has a horizontal or vertical shift, 6 units. And so it's highlighting what's going on right in the middle of this equation. So my students should know that that is a horizontal, and it's a shift, vertical, horizontal, and then it's going to be a shift to the right. And so then there's a reflection, and it's going to be a reflection over an x-axis or a y-axis, or no reflection. And in this case, it was, because it's outside of the function, for those of you who are math teachers, it's going to be a reflection over the y-axis. And then there's been a stretch, shrink, so I have my students pick and by what factor. And then dealing with the shifting of 8 units, that was a vertical, and that this would be a shift up. So you can put all of those choices in there, and it makes the students think a little bit more about what it is that those different things are doing. So that's how I've incorporated this. The last I want to show you too is on quiz. For question number 18, something that you can do at home, since we have to, if you would like to, assess their learning, how are they understanding it. So for question number 18, I asked them to solve this problem, but they're going to upload a problem for me to see. And so that they can choose a file and upload that, either a screenshot or a PDF from OneNote, and then I could grade that. That'll show up in SpeedGrader for me to grade, but that means versus the computer grading it. So those are just some options that you can have for your students while they're at home quizzing, that it's just not multiple choice and true or false. So I'll stop sharing my screen for a moment. What questions can I answer for you? Or do you need me to repeat something because maybe I went a little too fast?
When I actually work on it.
I'm sorry, what would you like me to show you one more time?
I will have the questions when I work on it.
I'm still not understanding. Can you maybe type it in the chat box?
Yes.
Sorry about that.
Another teacher in the chat also is asking how you do the upload a file question.
So upload a file from the student perspective, or how do I make that an upload option? I can go over that as well. Okay, so let me go ahead and share again. I go back to my demo quiz and make a new question. So solve some equation here. And then instead of multiple choice, down at the bottom, it'll be a file upload question where you can have show all work. During the normal school year, when I have my students test in the normal classroom environment, I would, for that particular question I showed you, would have that on an answer sheet for them because they have to turn in all of their work for me. I feel that once they get to an Algebra 2 class, even an Algebra 1 in geometry, that they have to show some work for questions. So I make the Canvas portion worth so much of the test, and then their work worth so much of the test as well. So, but that's how you would have them do a upload question. And then did we ever figure out what Gloria was asking?
Yeah, she was just saying that she's probably going to have questions when she starts working on it, but not quite yet.
Yeah, feel free to reach out to us. So how do you make a quiz? First of all, I do that within modules. I go to the module that I want. Everything I do, I build within modules. And then I do a plus sign over here within my module. And instead of an assignment, I pick quiz. I have already created some quizzes here. You could pick a new quiz and then the name. That would be the best way to create a new quiz. Kind of leaves a space for the quiz. And then you can see that demo quiz that I had just created with you has 11 points. And what about questions from a Word document? So what do you mean? Would you like them to read a portion of the Word document and to respond to that? Or are you wanting them to respond in a Word document and then submit that Word document to you? You can, in the body of your question, if you wanted to, if you go to the 3 vertical dots over here, just before that, there's an insert documents. So you could upload a document if you would like. So let's see if I go to my calculus and I grab a document. I can put that Word document in there for my students to see their rubric document for their cross sections. You could have them respond in various different ways to that document. You can have them fill in the multiple blanks, like this particular one was pick a cross section project that they had to complete. So if I do a fill in the blank, probably should do fill in the blanks. I could put which region will you select? And then I can put in region and then which shape. I should say which cross section shape for this particular object. And then for multiple fill in the blanks, there were 5 regions for me. So region A, region B, and then I would select more options. Region C. And then the shape, they had a semicircle. Or they had a triangle. I didn't spell that right. They had a square. Trying to think what else they had. I think they also had a rectangle. And then you could update. So in this case, my calculus students, we did a cross-section project right before spring break. If I wanted to gather information from them, they could preview the document right within the question. It's going to take a minute to load here. And then they would be able to tell me what region and which shape they would want to pick from that project. I hope that answered your questions. If you build a quiz from a question bank and then share to Commons, the question banks, sometimes they go to Commons, sometimes they don't. We can ask Kristen and some of the other Canvas trainers on here. Sometimes the question banks, for me at least, have been finicky. I have to make sure that I share those question banks wherever I'm transferring those question banks to. Typically what I have to do is once I've shared the question bank, I still have to go back in and reset that question bank up within the quiz itself. That typically doesn't go nice and easy by yourself. Just looking through the chat. Was there any other questions I can help you with?
I just wanted to highlight, there was a comment after the question about Word docs that you can't upload questions from a Word doc, but if you have a test in exam view that you can import, there's a way to import from exam view into Canvas. So if you're trying to convert old tests over.
Yeah, and if you've got a test as a Word document, and I've had that before, I just cut and paste right into the question and into the different answer choices if it's going to be multiple choice, or just the question stems themselves. I cut and paste directly into the Canvas quizzes. So don't feel that you have to retype the whole thing from a Word document.
Diana asked if you are including a file upload for them to view during, or sorry, just a file for them to view during a quiz. Will the lockdown browser still work?
I haven't shared a document that they have to get into during a lockdown browser test, but I would assume it works. I have put in pictures and graphs in different items, as long as they have, it depends what kind of file it is you're putting in there. Google sometimes is tricky about who you allow to have access to it. If you're using a Word document, I would assume that it would work with the lockdown browser. That's not something I've tested. How about anybody else who's a Canvas trainer?
I would guess the same thing that you said. I'm trying to think if I've used one off the top of my head or not, but because you've uploaded the file into Canvas, they're not actually leaving Canvas to access the file. You might have an issue possibly with with asking them to upload it, or if they have to download it. I would make it so that they can view the doc. Did you show them, Kelly, how to do the Autoopen inline preview?
No, I haven't.
Maybe show that, because that would be the fail safe, because they don't have to download the document then. The other comment I'd like to make, though, is that right now we're not encouraging the use of lockdown browser, because if a student is trying to access a quiz from a device that is not their school issued device, they might be having trouble well, they would not be able to access the quiz then because they wouldn't have the lockdown browser downloaded. So just a heads up for right now, while we're in this remote teaching environment, I would not recommend using lockdown browser.
Kristen, do you, I'm not familiar with the Autoshare Autoshow feature you were just talking about. I'll go back to my quiz.
I really like this feature because it so when you click on, so if you upload a file.
All right, I've got my file.
And this works, and then hit submit. And this works for any type of document. And then you click on the link.
I see it under options.
And then you have options, and then you click automatically open an inline preview and hit done. And this will work anywhere there's a rich content editor. It works for PowerPoints, any kind of document. Then students don't have to download the document first. It's just gonna pop open right in the space as kind of like a PDF version of it. So.
Okay. So I just switched it to a multiple choice. So I could update that question, and then I'm going to go ahead and save this quiz to show you that auto load feature. Thanks, Kristen. Today. All right, so here are my questions, and then this is my document.
So it looks like maybe in the quizzes it works sort of funny, but if this was in an assignment or a page, that preview would have just automatically been opened up. So
okay.
Maybe to save space, the kids just need to click on that magnifying glass.
Yep, so if you click on that little icon there, it'll preview the document that I uploaded into here. Any other questions that you may have?
I did put the link for getting PD credit in the chat.
Okay. I see that.
A little bit. There's been some questions now. And there is an option for this one. So you'll choose Canvas quizzes, how to have more than multiple choice and true false.
Okay. And then Jim Herbert, I see you said, how do we find ready-made questions for math teacher? You can look in. Also, I think your math department chair has access to put you guys into a math Canvas cohort course for all math teachers. That some content has been shared in there as well. You could look at that.
Can I chime in with a question, please?
Sure.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Karen, go ahead.
Okay. For some reason, I have not been able to see the chat, and I know this is probably just a question for Kristen, so I'm not sure where I can go to catch the link. And this has happened to me more than once, and I don't know. I'm working on a MacBook right now, so I don't know if that makes a difference.
That might be the difference why you can't see the chat. Can they have access to this link someplace else? Do you know?
Karen, I can just email you that link.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Is that Freeman?
That was Britton. Okay. Thanks, Britton.
Thank you.
All right. Well,
I have a question.
Go ahead, Gloria.
Is recording training? How can I go back later?
You're breaking up, Gloria. I can't really understand your question.
I don't know the problem. I'm going to take that.
I think I caught a little bit are you asking about recordings of the webinars?
No.
No. Oh.
The webinar is recorded and it will be posted on the website for people to see. Freeman just put that link in the chat there.
Okay, that's what I just asked.
He's asking how can people know that we are on these chats? That's her question. How can it be recorded that we've been on these chats?
Like how are we taking attendance that you were here?
Yes.
You have to fill out that Google form that we've put in the link in the chat. Sorry.
I'll throw it in the chat again since it was kind of really high up there now.
I think Britton just put it in there as well.
Oh, okay.
Google form that will that's in the chat and that Britton is going to email to Karen. That lets us know that you were here for this. Any other questions before we go? Thank you for joining us. If you've got some specific questions, feel free to stay and we'll help you out.
And Freeman did share the video link, Gloria, if you didn't see that. It's just above your comment. That's where you can get all the recordings. It takes us about a day or so to get the recordings back on, or to get them onto the website though, so.
I don't know if you can hear me.
We can. It's just a little bit choppy.
Oh. All right. Good. Thank you.
So Gloria, it looks like you're logged in on multiple devices and that's why we're getting a lot of feedback. There's more than one device that you're on.
I was thinking, I thought I turned it off, the other one, but it is closed and it's still showing like popping, like I'm late.
Yeah, well, I think that's what's making it difficult to hear you is because there's feedback from two different devices coming in. So that's what's happening. So sorry, that's frustrating.
Yeah, I couldn't get everything clear how it sounded like. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, hey Kelly, if Becky asked if you can go over exam view.
I cannot. I don't have any courses that in the last couple of years that have had exam view. So I would stumble my way through it. Maybe one of the other OIDCs that teaches math will be able to do some exam view a little bit better than I can. It's certainly something I can look into and get back to you, Becky, if you would like that.
Yeah, I've used it before, but it's been a while, so it would take me a minute too. But you just have to export the exam view file and then import it. So what we can do is try and pull some tutorials and send that out maybe, or put it on the cohort page. So
yeah, we certainly can make sure we get that the exam view into Canvas, importing that out. I just have found in the past that I spend a lot of time looking at exam view and I find questions that I mostly like, but I wish I could tweak it a little bit. So for me personally, I find that I spend a lot of time just looking at exam view, and I could have created the question that I wanted exactly how I wanted a little bit faster than pulling in something from exam view. But I do know that there are other teachers on my campus who do use a lot of exam view and find it rather easy once they've got the process down. So we can try to get those tutorials up there for you.
Can I add something?
Sure.
This is Jenny Hess. I'm one of the OIDCs. Even though I don't use ExamView a whole lot, I use other sources, like for instance, Big Ideas. You can go in the question you want and just copy and paste it into a Canvas question. But if you're really interested in ExamView and specifically copying the question banks from ExamView and putting them into Canvas, I know someone who's done that, and that is Zach Lair, Lair. So if you email Zach Lair, he's one of the EdTech trainers. He has lots of experience in that, and he could probably walk you through it.
And thanks, Louise. I see in your comment that you could import them from ExamView and then change them into the different kinds of questions. So thanks for that suggestion that we could import it into Canvas and then change it in Canvas as we see fit. Any last questions that you have for us? I've got on my list, we need to get some ExamView info out. Well, thank you for joining us. If you have some specific questions you want to ask, you're welcome to stay on. Otherwise, we'll be offering some more online training later on in the future. You can go to the website in order to log in and see what our future ones are. I think we have one tomorrow, but I can't remember off the top of my head exactly what it is.
Yeah, Freeman's doing discussions and Canvas collaborations.
That's right. Yep. All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a good rest of your week.
Thanks, Kelly.
Thanks, Kelly. You did a great job.
Oh, thanks.